on that. So I'll let Caron introduce herself and what she's up to.
Multitasking technology, okay, this is going to be fun, isn't it? Hi, right then, I'm Caron. I am a producer, social media entrepreneur, and internet adventurer and explorer. And as an internet adventurer and explorer, there's a lot of you today, and hopefully I can share with you my journey that I have got in crypto and blockchain and NFTs and all these background numbers. And by the end of it, those of you that did know quite a lot will know what the rest of us in the room know, and those of you knew nothing at all will have some words and phrases and definitions to help you start understanding what people are saying when they start talking to you about crypto, and then you won't have to glaze over every time. So, okay, so when I started talking to people about social technologies, coming from a theatre background, my journey into technology was because as an analog sound engineer, I found myself with a round hole with a phone adapter and a square peg with a USB. And that was really why I had to go from analog to digital. And it's always the same when we go from Web 1 to Web 2, and you'll start hearing tonight about Web 3. But the main thing is don't add technology to the way you do things. Change the way you do things when you know what the technology can do. We'll get on to the first slide very soon. So back in 2007, if those of you can remember back that far, social media was emerging, and people were saying to me at the time, it'll never catch on. Why would anybody want to do that? What problem does it solve? How do I leverage it for my business? ROI. I'll leave that acronym with you. So how do I leverage social media for my business? And we're all familiar now with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and that's the modern face of the legacy of Web 2.0. But there were lots of things that have gone by the wayside that some of us remember, some of us don't. So along the way, we lost things like Postgres and Beam and Seedmic and Bebo and MySpace, all big players in their time, but they're gone and forgotten. So that was the dawn of Web 2. And the early pioneers who introduced me not just to social media, but continued me on this journey. So this journey of cryptocurrency is an emergence of the things that they wanted to do with Web 1 that didn't work, and then it crept on to Web 2, and it became commercialized, and it became driven by scraping personal data. And the only way you could make money out of it was through advertising. And a lot of the practitioners that are at the forefront of crypto, that's the main thing they want to change. They want to claim back their data. They want to have things decentralized. They want to take back control. And that's a lot of the foundation of what crypto is about. So let's be clear on what crypto actually is. So, I've got a few notes. I'm going to take you through the notes and apologise for sort of looking up and down. But as I get through a few things, if we all know what they are, I can move on to some other notes. That's far more notes than slides, and we've got time for. So actual crypto. With a particular interest in digital assets and physical objects, there's a real opportunity for buying and selling, which we've already do. So what interests me about crypto? So I'm tech-minded. I'm a enthusiastic investor, and I want my investors in my project to have something special. We all want to have something special, and I believe that NFTs is one of the things that we're going to be able to offer people to be able to give extra value to projects that we're doing. Here, so there's things like, we're going to go over today, things like blockchain, NFT, digitalization of proofs and proving models, conflict resolution, taking back control of your data, time stamping legacy, these are all things that hopefully by the end when we network, we'll be able to have a chat about what some of these might be, or some of them that you find interesting that you can ask questions about. So if you have got those, the best thing to do is with a phrase that you're not sure about that's interesting, just make a note, come and talk to me after. So let's have a bit more about me, shall we? I have a 1-year development grant from the Art Council. It's what's enabling me to go on this adventure of finding out what it is. So my vision is to produce small-scale theatre experience that blends physical space with virtual reality, extended reality on stage, and also wrap that technology around the audience. And I'm exploring NFTs as a way of giving an alternative source of funding for arts and theatre. Because we are all engineers, artists, and architects. So crypto, there's a bit of glossary of terms. Those are these slides, glossaries of terms, that hopefully you can have these as well on the slide. And the URL of the slide is active and takes you to all the resources if you want to dig a bit more. So let's have a look. Crypto. So before I go on with my story a bit more, let's have a look at just a few of these. So crypto. Cryptocurrency, sometimes called cryptocurrency or crypto, is any form of currency that exists digitally or virtually that uses cryptography to secure transactions. So it's about math. It's about math, calculations, coming to an agreement, and then that agreement being somehow declared fact. So there is going to be some feedback. I've got a QR code. If you want to give me back any information, we can do that afterwards. But I just want to let you know what this is not going to be. It's not going to be a how-to. I'm not going to tell you how to do NFTs. It's also not going to be based about the ethics of the energy consumption of Bitcoin, so we will touch on it. And it's also not financial advice. There'll come a point where if you find interested in financial stuff, you'll go one way, and if you're interested in the art and NFTs, I'm going to be one. So, cryptocurrency. It is monitored and organised by a peer-to-peer network called a blockchain. So, the blockchain is across all cryptocurrencies. Every cryptocurrency has a blockchain. Unlike physical money, cryptocurrencies are decentralized, which means they are not issued by governments or financial institutions. Some people think that's good, some people think that's bad, but the legacy of institutions does mean that they have some kind of authority and authenticity. So there is got to be very, very careful about decentralization. We're going to look at that. So, after crypto, let's move to dig down some of these. So, blockchain. Blockchain is a system of recording information in a way that makes it difficult or impossible to change, hack, or cheat the system. So, you've got a really solid Excel spreadsheet that everybody agrees is truth, and whatever goes on it, everybody agrees that it is the thing. So how do we do anything on that? So blockchain is a type of ledger. So just like in accounting, when you've got a paper book ledger, you put all of your mathematics in and your accounts, those ledgers, that language that you use in the old world kind of sifts through into this world. So distributed ledger, in which transactions are recorded in an immutable cryptographic signature called a hash. We're not talking a lot about hashes, but that hash is the PIN code. It's the thing that is created that gives access to stuff, and it's the thing that's believed, it's the thing that all the work has been done on to create it. So we've got, they're programmable. These are just the things that blockchains and cryptocurrencies have at their core. So you've got programmable, they're secure, they're anonymous, they're unanimous, timestamped, immutable, and distributed. So these are words that you'll hear all the way through blockchain, Bitcoin, any other cryptocurrency. So just remaining in blockchain. A blockchain is a growing record called blocks. blockchain, see where we're going here? Each block contains cryptographic hashes, and we covered the hashes just a little bit ago, of the previous block, a timestamp and transaction data generally represented by a Merkle tree. Is there anyone here who knows what a Merkle tree is? Okay, we're on the same page then, this is good. I've looked at Merkle pages, I don't need to know what they are. If you're going to do things that is in the codey bits of it, you probably want to find someone who at least knows what a Merkle tree is, because then you'll know that they're at that next level of knowledge through you. So, but this is the thing. The blocks on the blockchain knows what came before it, and it knows what bits of data went after it. Therefore, you cannot change it without changing what came before it or what came after it. So that blockchain foundation is what all of these cryptocurrencies hinge on. And when you've got a blockchain that has a cryptocurrency, there are questions then to ask about, well, whose blockchain and whose currency? And how secure are they? So it's only secure with human beings, and then there's the AI bits that come into it, but I think that's something for a further talk. So, that was great. Let's see where we're up to, so I keep them on. So, you've got these blockchains, and you've got these cryptocurrencies, and you've got these rules, but how do you decide the block is real, or how do you decide if the block is authentic, or whether it can be, who creates, or how do they create them? Well, they create them through something called consensus. And again, we're going back to pre-techie world, so in the world of real people, consensus or decision-making, consensus politics. The group decision-making processes in which participants develop and decide on proposals with an aim or requirement of acceptance by all. But without any technology, without any maths, just what does the consensus mean? That is the definition of consensus. And that just steps through into the consensus. So people will talk about a consensus protocol on that blockchain. So consensus blockchain is considered to be completely secure and verified. Consensus by all, everyone verifies it. It is possible only because of the presence of the consensus protocol, sounds like a film, which is core part of any blockchain network. But all of them have different ones, and this is where the eco bit comes in, and if you've heard anything about cryptocurrency. There are different consensus. The big one that everybody gets very upset about is proof of work. So that's one consensus. The proof of work is an algorithm, and it's used to select a miner. So Bitcoin is a proof of work consensus model. Select a miner for the next block generation. Bitcoin uses proof of work consensus. The central idea behind the algorithm is to solve complex mathematical puzzles and give a solution. And that mathematical puzzle requires a lot of computational power. And it's that computational power, but unless you're in somewhere in the North Circle where you can really well cool your servers, that's what takes a lot of power. And that's where most of the discussion about how uneco-friendly Bitcoin is, not necessarily cryptocurrency, and not necessarily blockchain, because there are lots of Bitcoin, there are lots of blockchains, and there are lots of cryptocurrencies. So the next one, and this is the one that is getting most attention, and the one that people like, and this is the one that a lot of newer cryptocurrencies are based on, and that is a proof of stake. So proof of work, doing lots and lots of mathematics. Proof of stake, this is commonly the alternative to POW, first everywhere. These are very small quotes that I have searched in Google, and I wanted to make sure that what I was telling you today is kind of the consensus that everyone is writing. So I've been to lots of Google pages and picked out the snippets that the AI has you'll see these, if you go to these links, you'll see exactly the text and the rest of the articles in context. So, Ethereum. So, coming across crypto, who was aware of the term cryptocurrency, whether you knew what it meant or not? Cryptocurrency, I take it. Yeah. Blockchain as a thing. Okay. Bitcoin as a thing. How about Ethereum as a thing? Cool. What about consensus as a thing? So, yeah, that's that. So instead of investing expensive hardware to solve a complex puzzle, validators invest in coining systems by locking up some of their stake. So things start to sound a bit like gambling now, stakes and validators in terms of examinations. It's all becoming a little bit more people related. So proof of stake is quite important to two slides. So validators will validate blocks, again with the same kind of phrase, blocks on the blockchain, by placing a bet on if they can discover a block that they think can be added to a chain. So the things that are being given to the blockchain, so if it's a blockchain that is deciding whether a piece of artwork is real, there has to be enough people who say, yes, it's real, for the blockchain to be allowed to say that it happened. And when they do get that connection, that consensus, when they reach a consensus, the person who gets to the consensus first, they get to do the next block, and that's how they get rewarded. So with blockchain, the way people make Bitcoin is they win the competition and they get the reward of claiming the next block, Bitcoin. And then with Ethereum, you have person winning and getting a selection of what people put in on the bet. So it's a bit more like poker. So there's different types. So there's not just proof of work and there's not just proof of stake. But I'm not going to go into all of those. And there's proof of work, proof of stake, delegated proof of stake. That's the big one, there's some benefits to that, and that's one that I'm going to touch on. But there's some other ones here in these two. There's the Byzantine general consensus, which is much more based on war strategy. So a lot of that sort of strategic tactics comes into some of these consensus models. Again, just so you know, there's not just Bitcoin and Ethereum, although those are the two that I'm focusing on today. Each different consensus has a different group of platforms that have decided to adopt it. So whenever you come across a Bitcoin or you come across a blockchain, you want to be asking, well, what is its consensus and what is its coin? So understanding a little bit, or being able to find out a little bit, ask those questions about what that blockchain is, what the cryptocurrency is that they're making, and what consensus they're using. Okay, so let's go back to the story a little bit. So this is the general in 2009. So just to give a bit of context to what we're talking about here, about how new you guys are being interested in this. I think that's really important. So 2009, Bitcoin was introduced. So before 2009, Bitcoin was not a thing. It was introduced as peer-to-peer currency. 2012, we get the first proof of stake network emerging called Caron, which I haven't really heard that one until this. So there's already platforms that are really key at the forefront of this. Don't exist anymore, or they do exist, that's wrong, but they're not as in the mainstream. December 2013, the evolution of that proof of stake came in with delegated proof of stake. And a lot of it was to do with what's at stake, what is the reward, what is the punishment. If you create something that is fake, what is the punishment for it? And the delegated proof of stake introduced the model of punishment and reward. So it doesn't benefit people to create things that aren't real or accept things too soon, but actually that consensus and agreeing things together. Then 2014, we see the beginning of my journey. This is where my perspective comes in. In 2014, I was live streaming for a company called Cyberpower, and the lead artist of Cyberpower is called Ava. And Ava created the very first, or one of the very first, cyber cafes in London back in the late 90s, late 80s, early 90s. So she's been part of the Web 1 frontier, and she was going with Web 2. And they did a session that was where did Bitcoin 2.0 headed? And with all of the projects that I do, whether it was Twitter or Facebook or any of the projects that I was going along with the producer, I wanted to try and understand what it was about so that I can talk to speakers and that I can work with them on a way that kind of understand where it's coming from, I know what it is they're doing. So there was a project at the time where you could invest £50. So in 2014, I invested £50 in Bitcoin in a mining project. 2015, Ethereum announces proof of stake. So until quite recently, even Ethereum was proof of work, and the process was shifting because it acknowledges, and a lot of them acknowledge, that it is a little bit difficult being quite eco-friendly. And then in 2022, Ethereum is in the process of switching from proof of work to proof of stake. So Ethereum has currently got two flavors at the moment, and it will depend on which blockchain you're using or which cryptocurrency using which chain. So it's quite important. Okay, so these events where the Web 2 heading to us. So this was June 24th, 2014. So, and I think it's really important. Cyberpower were the people I got my knowledge from. And I was there on Tuesday down in London doing a similar talk to this kind of reverse engineering where we're talking about truth, we're talking about the use of crypto technology to prove facts and how can you prove things are true. Just because you put something on a blockchain and the blockchain says it's true doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. It's true because the blockchain says it's true. And that whole dialogue about the philosophy of truth is still something that is really core. The consensus, how do you all agree on it? How many people can agree to make something real? If you're in a meeting or you do politics, there's a part of meetings that are called choruses. So you have to have a certain amount of people in the room to be able to make something official. And that's a similar thing that's going on here, but in a much more deeper way. Okay, so some personal milestones. So 2006, so I put my money in 2014, but in 2006, I discovered a platform called Second Life, and at the time it was a way of me exploring some gaming environments that were a little bit more freeform than just playing games on a console. And the things that Second Life brought me was a community that existed inside the computer. So I spent a lot of my time on tour, I spent a lot of my time working. I didn't really have any people that weren't part of my work. And Second Life gave me access to this world of other people around the world. It was a 2D, still exists today. And over time there, I worked on some projects. I was given some land by various project owners I worked with. For 6 months, I was pilot theatre's virtual world stage manager in Second Life. We built 3D models in the world, and we invited the lighting designer from Edinburgh and the costume designer. And then we were looking at using assets within Second Life to be able to monetize and make some extra money. So with virtual worlds and with metaverses that are around now, you have to make the skin and the clothes and the hair and the shoes, and all of those things can be put into a file format and they can be sold, and then people can put them on their own avatars. And you can do different things in Second Life. You can have a vending machine that sells hair. So people can come along, they click it, They say, what kind of hair do you want? You want that? And then you either pay for it in Linden Dollars. So even back in 2016, Linden last had an exchange rate to the pound. So there was these micro payments. So $1 Linden dollar, I think it was about $25. $1 was 25 Linden dollars. And it's varied up and down. So that notion of a removed currency from fiat kind of been around for a little while. So in 2014, when I invested in that Bitcoin, it was kind of, okay, let's see how it's going. And then in 2017, mining stopped for that company. And this is where the next part of my journey and the next bit that you will all, I hope, be interested in, which is, well, I've got cryptocurrency, but I'm also doing it next. How do I get it out of the mining account into somewhere that I can spend it? And that's a journey that you'll all need to go through. So it's following these paths. And for me, in 2017, that £50 in 2017 was worth £350. So, you know, not too bad. You sort of think, yeah, that's nice. But I'll just leave it there, so I have to move it into a wallet. And before we get onto the wallet and how we look after them, there's a few more little glossaries of terms I want to just run by you. So, you've got your Bitcoin, you've got your cryptocurrency, and you've got your blockchain. Then there's this thing called forking. Now, just like consensus had a real-world definition, forking has a similar thing. There's some different things in sort of philosophy things, but this particular one, forking, is about software engineers. There are software engineers here. Any software engineers? So there's software engineers, so we artists, the artists. The engineers, or architects. So you're all sort of a general public. I can't wait to find out what you're all doing. So software engineers, every now and again there'll be a copy of the code. So we've got blockchain, we've got consensus, we've got cryptocurrency, and someone decides that actually they want to do something else with it. So in software engineering, a project fork happens when developers take a copy of the source code, so our consensus, so our blockchain, or the things like that, from one software package and start an independent development on it, creating a distinct and separate piece of software. It's born from the same thing, but they decide to take a bit of it. It's like taking a rose twig, planting it somewhere else. It came from the same rose bush, but it's actually a completely different plant. The term often implies not merely a development branch, but also splitting the development community. So you often might have a disagreement within an organisation, or somebody thinks it should do one thing and somebody thinks it should do another. But generally, it's for advancement or to get a benefit. So in cryptocurrency terms, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum are powered by decentralized blockchains. A fork happens when the community makes a change to blockchain protocols, so the consensus stuff, if that gets changed, or the basic set of rules producing a second blockchain that shares all of its history with the original. Sometimes the fork happens to make the cryptocurrency more secure or to add features. So we're talking about cryptocurrencies, not Bitcoin or Ethereum, cryptocurrency, blockchain, and consensus. So, on that journey, Bitcoin and Ethereum, two of the main blockchains, and most of the stuff that's around at the moment that you'll probably interact with exists as part of the Ethereum or the Bitcoin blockchain. Those cryptocurrencies might have forked from Ethereum or Bitcoin, but their original origins can probably be traced back. So if you only do one thing to find out, is it derivatives from Bitcoin or is it derivatives from Ethereum? And if you're talking to someone who's into all of this, they should be able to answer that question quite easily. But there are hundreds of altcoins. So once they move away from Ethereum or Bitcoin, even Ethereum, some say, isn't altcoin. They've got Bitcoin and altcoins. Bitcoin seems to claim the original name. So Bitcoins are very much a thing of their own, and everything else, whether it's Ethereum, any coins, any cryptos, when we talk about NFTs, which we'll get onto, they're all altcoins. And hundreds of altcoins bought from Bitcoin and Ethereum do so to take advantage of Bitcoin or Ethereum's existing security features. So they may want to do something else with it, but they started on Ethereum or blockchain, so the foundation is very useful to them. And then we've got Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Diamond, Bitcoin Private, Bitcoin SB. I think you can see a lot about Bitcoin SB, and almost every other Bitcoin is all forked from the original blockchain. So if you buy one of these, you're not buying Bitcoin, you're buying a fee. And that's the thing to be aware of when you're buying coins, you decide to go down the finance route, that you know it's either original, or if it is an alternative coin, what is it and how much does it worth? Because it isn't connected to Bitcoin in any way. Bitcoin can go up and down in value. If you buy different flavour of altcoin, it has its own exchanges go up and down. Okay, so altcoins refer to any type of cryptocurrency other than Bitcoin. Ethereum is the most popular altcoin, and people use the full name, Ethereum. So all of these blockchains will have their own name. So we've got Ethereum, and we've got Bitcoin, Bitcoin network, and the blockchain. When talking about broad blockchain, people often refer to an Ether or give it a little code. So just like in Fortune 500 companies that have their ticker abbreviation, all of these cryptocurrencies have their own little ticker abbreviation. And to discuss the currency itself, we use ETH, so pounds, Bitcoin, ETH, and the B is the symbol for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is the world's first decentralized currency, a type of digital asset that is using public cryptography to record, sign, and send transactions over the Bitcoin blockchain, all done without central authority. So all those sort of keywords that I introduced you to at the beginning, don't worry if you have to follow through them, but those are the main glossaries that you'll want to start understanding what they are, so that this sort of Bitcoin stuff, if that foundation really matters to you, or at least be able to talk about what Bitcoin is, so that people who are talking back to you sound as if they're making sense, or if they're not, you can then go and look into some of the things you know a bit more about. But it's this central authority that the Bitcoin and the crypto and the Ether community really like. So again, here's like I just said with Ethereum, Bitcoin network with uppercase B was launched in 2009 by an anonymous computer programmer or group of programmers under the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto. And this is where the Bitcoin and the Ethereum split a little bit in terms of Bitcoin is very much more sort of shady, and who created it, no one knows, it's a bit secret, people claim it's them and people don't. So the whole crypto world, knowing who created these blockchains is really important. Just like if you have a service, you want to know who the development team is. So it might be decentralized, and it might be a blockchain with a particular consensus, but someone has to create the Bitcoin, has to create the blockchain in the first place. And who created that, or who adopted it, or who decided to fork from Bitcoin, or whether they decided to fork from Ethereum, why? And who are they? And where are they? Are they on social media? Are they on, do they occupy Discord servers? Do they blog? Does the company have a presence? It's just as important to know about those things. So, just like ordinary money, with Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies will have a breakdown. And this is where cryptocurrencies can be broken into much tinier amounts, which makes them quite attractive for micro payments. So each Bitcoin is made up of 100 million Satoshis. A little tiny bit of Bitcoin is called a Satoshi. The smallest unit of Bitcoin makes the individual Bitcoin divisible by 8 decimal places. If you like math, you'll probably love that. That means that anyone can purchase a fraction of a Bitcoin. And that's it. Although I've got invested £50, I don't even know. That was a fraction of a Bitcoin, even back then, putting £50 in. So let's have a little look at the history of Bitcoin before we're going to start going into the history and a little bit more about the fun and the arty kind of stuff. So Bitcoin, back down here, 2014, this is where I put my £50 in, down here. And then around about when I took out my money and put it into my first wallet, it was 2017, 2018, it was worth about £250. Didn't really think much about it. And then COVID happened around about here. And I wanted to see, well, is it worth it, or doesn't that sound like £50 worth £6,000? I was like, oh, that's very nice. What do I do with it? It's only worth £6,000 if I take it out and spend it on something that's worth £6,000. And to me, it was important that it just stays there, see what happens. And as you can see, it's gone quite a long way down here, and it's gone a long way back there. And at the moment, it's worth between £3,000 and £4,000. So it's been up and down. So if you're relying on that, you've got to be very cautious, I think, with the finance bit. So Ethereum is much more, has got the Satoshi secrecy behind it. Ethereum is a decentralized blockchain that securely executes some verified code called smart contracts. Now we're starting to get onto the stuff that is linked with NFTs. So until now, Bitcoin doesn't do NFTs. Cryptocurrency, a coin, an altcoin you might have which you're issued, isn't an NFT, it's still in the money terms. But it's a smart contract that allows participants to transact with each other without a trusted central authority. So a way of exchanging goods, a marketplace where you've got a trusted and agreed consensus of what happens when, by who wins, arbitration process, all built in. So it's community-run technology, and this is one of the things I think that this kind of community that likes to be centralized and also likes to be transparent, quite like about the Ethereum model. So Ethereum is community-run technology powering the cryptocurrency Ether. So there, we looked at how you talk about different coins. They all have their name of the blockchain, name of the coin, and then the name of which it is discussed as a thing. So they would all have different ones. There's thousands of decentralized applications. Transaction records are immutable, verifiable, and securely distributed across a network that gives participants full ownership and visibility of the transaction data. So the blockchain being visible to everyone, it's made correct or it's agreed by a consensus of the more people join the network, the more secure it becomes. So that's a useful part of an open source project. The more people come in, the more people decide to be part of the truth consensus. You need more people to say things are true before they're verified. So it's kind of self reinforcing. So transactions are sent from and received by created accounts. So to do anything on the Ethereum blockchain, you've got to have an Ethereum account. You send the sender multiplying transactions and spend Ether, which is the name of cryptocurrency, as a cost of processing the transaction. And this is where you will hear across all altcoins. Bitcoin does not fall into this as much as transactions, but this is where you have the price of gas. So So a lot of people who are into their cryptocurrency, you will always hear them moaning about the cost of gas. And gas is the form of transaction, what they're calling transactions, which make how much it costs to make that consensus happen. So the price of gas can go up and down more than the price of the coin itself. There's been a project that launched recently where they were selling land inside a virtual world, and the cost of the land was ending up being less than the price of the gas, because depending on how many people are accessing and trying to update the blockchain, the price of transacting goes up. So at the moment, there's this strange spiral of we want to do stuff, the more people do stuff, the more active the technology is, the more expensive it becomes to put something on the blockchain. And they have to freeze projects, and it's uncertain about whether it will actually continue, but people will have to spend more on their gas fees than they were on the price of the land in the virtual world. So Ethereum allows for the creation and exchange of NFTs. Here we go. We've got 10, 15 minutes. We're going to go down this rabbit hole. Okay, so Ethereum allows for the creation of NFTs. So all NFTs probably, I hate to say definitely are, because there's always an exception, but Ethereum allows the creation of NFTs. So if you're going to enter into the NFT arena, you're probably going to be working with something that has its foundations in Ethereum. It might be forked from Ethereum, it's interesting to know that. And there's also things that can then be set on top of the Ethereum blockchain, so you have layers as well that we will look at. So Ethereum allows the creation and exchange of NFTs, which are non-interchangeable tokens connected to digital networks or art or other real items and sold as unique digital property. So there's really, I'm actually going to read this particular quote because it's so nicely. So, non-fungible more or less means that it's unique and can't be replaced with anything else. For example, a Bitcoin is fungible. Trade one Bitcoin for another Bitcoin, and you still have a Bitcoin. You'll have exactly the same thing. One kind of trading card for another, but some trading cards are one of a kind. And that is non-fungible. It's one of a kind, it's unique, it can't be changed for anything else. Baseball card of Babe Ruth will always be a trading card of Babe Ruth, and it might be worth lots of money. But you could give someone a trading card to somebody else, and it's worth nothing. People go, well, I'm not trading my expensive, one-of-a-kind this for your thing, because no one wants yours, however they do want mine, because it's the same person on the baseball card. So if you trade it for a different card, you have something completely different, which might change its value, might change its worth. So the NFT is issued to a unique thing. So here we go, just reinforcing that. So non-fungible tokens. NFTs are unique and indivisible digital tokens that are useful for proving provenance. This is another interesting thing that starts to come up with NFTs. You start to be able to prove the history of something. You start to be able to benchmark legacy. You can say that something has come from somewhere else, and there's been a consensus blockchain that confirms that it did come from where you say it came from, and it's written in a ledger that has been agreed by a consensus community. NFTs can be used by an artist to tokenize their work and ensure that their work is unique and belongs to them. So we're starting to get the notion of making sure something is belonging to you. So at the moment, if you paint a picture and you sell it at auction, the person who then owns the picture, there's nothing to link you back to it unless you're famous and they have a provenance record that says this painting is only a Leonardo da Vinci, because it's in a particular record that only recognises Leonardo da Vinci's work. The ownership information is recorded and maintained on the blockchain network, so you will get given a code or the hash that was used to create that block is your unique code that you associate with the product. How you keep the two together in the physical world is still something that's interesting to see how different platforms tackle that. So the first NFT project on Ethereum, CryptoKitties. Still going. You can still go and have a look at CryptoKitties. You can buy them for tiny money, or you can buy some for ridiculously stupid money. Enable customers to collect digital cat collectibles backed by an NFT. So collectibles very much have found their home with NFTs. So the Internet of Assets. We've got the Internet of Things. We've had the Internet of Commerce. We've had Web 1.1, which was very static. Web 2.0 brought us into that interactive world. With a lot of Web 2, we only really saw a great deal of development in it when internet speed increased. 4G was fundamental to us really adopting Instagram and Facebook, because before 4G, it was just too slow. No one would want to send a photograph, and the data was too much. So 4G. So as the Internet of Assets evolved with the NFT and crypto community, in Web 2, in our existing world, we're going to see a huge increase in data, low latency, with the introduction in probably about 6 months to a year of 5G and 6G in internet terms. So if you've got the 2.5G, 5G on your router, you're going to start to see a 6 in the future, and like with mobile. And once those speeds increase, a lot of the moving data between places is going to change. We're going to change our perception of what it means to move data around. So this Internet of Assets, Ethereum isn't just digital money. Anything you can own can be represented, traded, and put to use as a non-fungible token. You can tokenize your art and get royalties. This is the next thing that for me is like, ooh, royalties. I come from a theatre background. And if you're in film or television and you sign a contract, you get royalties. And you get residuals. If a network shows things that you were in, you get paid years and years in advance. I have a friend who had one line in Torchwood, Doctor Who. It got cut. He still gets paid £128 a year comes through his door from his agent because of that one line in Torchwood. And people who have been in theatre have seen theatre come and go. You perform, the curtain goes up, the curtain comes down, and you've got your programme. And who knows whether you were in it? You put things on your TV, no one really knows what my role on stage management committee at the Nottingham Playhouse or Theatre Royal in York or all the places that I have in my CV. I have no real proof that I was at any of them, apart from a programme that might have my name written in it. But this starts to give you, as an artist and a creator, things that you create for other people because of your job, you start to be able to have a bit of a legacy of being able to prove. And if those things are then sold, because you are the original owner, you will get a royalty for that. And if the person who then buys it off you sells it to someone else, the smart contract that's written in the blockchain will know that it's yours, and the smart contract will say that you will always get 1%. So you don't have to track it, the blockchain tracks it for you. But then it's choosing the blockchain. So this open internet, we can gain access to free internet services by giving up control of our personal data. That's what we do at the moment. Web 2, you give us free personal data, that's where it comes from. Ethereum services are open by default, you do need a wallet, and this is where we've gone through all the words of cryptocurrency, and it's really important to have. You don't need to know how they all work, and I don't know how they work. I've been spending my time trying to understand what the concepts are so that I can get the best out of it, whether it's to mint a file on of a show to offer my investors the perk that in the future I can give to some actors who will emerge from university and nobody. But who knows that in 3 or 4 years' time, they could become a major Hollywood star. They could be the next Superman. And if someone comes up to them and says, what are you in show didn't have an NFT, or all shows will have an NFT, they may say, I'm not selling mine, I'm keeping my portfolio. But someone who's in the show, who, you know, whose career is on a different path, they become not going into the mainstream, that could be a real source of income for them. To put it for sale and sell something for someone facing it, and then you've got that income to spend on the community, or you spend it into the life that you're currently finding yourself in. So that excites me about where this is all going. So wallet, you need a wallet, and this is, once you understand those blockchain bits, you need to know, well, how to look after it. So a crypto wallet is a place where you can securely keep your crypto. There are many different types of wallets, but the most popular ones are hosted, non-custodial, and hard wallets. You won't go with them because we want to really see some of the fun stuff, which I promise you is at the end. But essentially, a hosted wallet is something like Coin wallet. Coinbase is very well known and comes to the top of Google. A lot of people use it. So in terms of being mainstream, it's got the world behind it right now. You know, if they do something silly, you know, a lot of people are going to get in trouble. But you've also got MetaMask, which is a wallet. Now, MetaMask runs off your browser. So, and all of these platforms, especially MetaMask, we all have a how-to. They all really want you to use their platform. So, a few YouTube videos, a few looking at the how to do it, and it will give you an idea. And you'll be looking for those words like consensus and stake and Bitcoin or Ethereum. I actually have a blockchain wallet. That's the one that I use. It's very simple. It only has a limited number of altcoins that I can trade, which often is the problem with these different ones. The non-custodial wallet, the one that you don't look after, PayPal have just started doing crypto. You can buy crypto through PayPal. And if you buy through PayPal, PayPal is a non-custodial wallet. That's an example of non-custodial. And the hardware wallet are for the real hardcore cryptos who keep it on a hard drive, disconnected from the internet, where no one can get it, and then go everywhere in their back pocket, change their wrist. I know someone like that. So, to store and exchange and receive, which is the basic thing that your wallet is doing. Exactly, you use a wallet that you've got in your pocket, you want to keep your money in it, you want to be able to exchange for goods, and quite non-fungible goods actually, because if you take £1 and you buy an apple, you've got an apple. Those are exchanging one thing for another and you gain something completely different. There's quite a lot of parallels within all of these worlds, but you'll need to receive, most of them use the good old QR code. So anybody was a QR code person and they had a cryptocurrency. This is the QR code that I can show people that they can scan and they can just put crypto, Bitcoin, this particular one, directly into my wallet. So yeah, let's go down to the fun stuff now, because there are certain things that benefit from all that. So when you've got a little bit of interest, and I will get the slides sent out for everyone, so you can click through all of those links that are on this presentation to see where it goes to and read those. And once you start to look into crypto, you do some of these basic searches, you will have Facebook pixels following you around everywhere. You will never be sure of new articles about what's happening in crypto. I cannot get away from the stuff. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube video, adverts, it's all crypto and NFTs for me at the moment because that's what I'm typing into Google. I type something into Google now and it says, do you want that to be a crypto search? It's like, no, I just want to search something ordinary. So, look at a couple of platforms just before, yes, so 5 minutes. So we've got NFT Showroom. So NFT Showroom is a proof of art. So this is an art website that you can sign up. You have to, it's proof of stake. So you have to have a wallet that's got some money in it, or crypto, that you then can connect your wallet up to the site, and then you can buy things from your wallet. The biggest dilemma that I'm having at the moment with my adventure, with my art council, I have a wallet, I have an exchange, I can see art that I really, really want to buy, but there are certain things that you need to make sure that you've got set. Because you can't just sign up. They will want you to have, this is a few of those things, they want you to have, they want you to come out and safe, they want you to make sure that your money is all safe. So what they end up doing is, this is a lot of money, this is just not time. So, as I say, they want you to sign up, and they want to verify your ID. So that's really, they will probably always want your driving license, and they may even want your bank card, and they may want your driver and your passport. So as soon as you're giving that kind of data to an online platform, everything that you've learned about security already on the internet, you do not sign up to a crypto platform unless you've done your research. Because if they're going to have your license and your passport and your bank details, you want to know that this platform is legit. So that is really important. And say the wallet, there's some good wallets. Does your wallet then connect up to the platform that you're using? And then that's the next thing is interoperability. Can you take your coins from place to place? So this is a proof of art. You can put art, put the art on. Once you sign up, you can just sign up as an artist, or you can sign up as a buyer. If you sign up as an artist, they take you through a process, depending on how you put your artwork up, and how to set your account up. So at the moment, total earnings of artists, and say we're not, not talking millions. One of the main sites as well. You'll get a sense of size. The amount of NFTs that are actually on this platform, I mean, 12,000 is a screenshot we've taken yesterday. I was actually quite shocked at how low it was. But these are a mainstream, well-known, I'm wanting to buy something like it. That's one of my aspirations. I've got targets that I'm setting, where I want to buy stuff from and what I need to understand. On the day, they sold 23 yesterday when this was done. And they've got just under 2,000 artists. So, not a lot of artists, but if people are buying, that's a good place to be. Who are the audience, who's buying things, what sort of artists are there, just the same sort of marketing stuff you would do ordinarily. Then we've got another art side. This is FX Hash. This is an artist that I know her brother, which is how I know about her. I love this piece of art particularly. And there are 30 of 32 have been sold, so there's 2 left. And I'm like, can I get my stuff all connected in time to buy one of those? And just when you think that Ether, and Bitcoin, and altcoins, I wasn't going to give you loads of altcoins, but this particular platform uses something called Tezos. So when I was like, oh, I like this art site, I like her, Lloyd is a very, very good friend of mine. I would very much like to buy a piece of his sister's artwork. Okay, how do I connect the wallet up? And as soon as I connected my wallet up, it was like, I don't have any of that coin. Okay, how do I exchange my coins? So Tezos is a decentralized open source blockchain, words that we've talked about already. You can execute peer-to-peer transactions. Yes, that sounds like a blockchain thing. You can serve as a platform for deploying smart contracts. It's an Ethereum-based type thing. Native cryptocurrency is Tezos, and the symbol is XPZ. Same thing that happens with the Ethereum blockchain. So, NFTs, what other NFTs are around? This is an NFT that the Wrong Man becomes the world's first NFT musical. This happened on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. And it's the first off-Broadway musical to be minted as a blockchain, onto the blockchain. It's through a company called Terra Ventura, and they also mint and gaming cards and also graphic novels. So if you're a graphic novelist, this is the sort of thing that they have unique versions. They have, I think, 1,000 of the programs available, and then there's another one a little bit further up that gives you more money. But this is the Wrong Man musical. It is, I'm reading up there. Off Broadway, the Wrong Man has become the world's first NFT. The digital collectible available to buy will be a mix of music, graphics and film, including full animated musical, vinyl posters featuring artwork from the musical and previously unreleased tracks from Golan, so Golan's main musician. So they put that whole pack of media together. They've issued it a Bitcoin, a NFT. They said we will allow there to be 1,000 of these NFTs, and you can buy up to 1,000 of them. Once people have bought 1,000 of them, that's it, there'll be more. So that's one that happened on Monday. Happened on Tuesday. I've been following that for a couple of weeks. Someone sent me a link to it in this space. I thought, oh, that'll be a year. I bet that won't happen. And sure enough, Facebook tracked me down. It did not leave me alone. It's like, oh, it happened. Nice. And we've got a different type of NFT. So William Shatner, on Star Trek, Captain Kirk, he teamed up with a company called Materium, and they authenticated his collection of figures. They minted them on blockchain, and they are being stored in a physical vault in New York. And if you buy an NFT, there's 5 NFTs per object. If you own one of those NFTs and you go to the place in New York and say, I own an NFT for this Captain Kirk figure, they will go down to the vault, they will bring it onto a table like a Swiss bank, and then they'll put it back to the vault for you. So that notion of taking something physical and making it an NFT is a thing too. And then we go into the metaverse, and the metaverse is also being put on blockchain. So this is Fungible. It's a metaverse that's powered by a blockchain. It has development with virtual reality, build things, but it has a marketplace. And all the things that are in its marketplace will be on the blockchain assets. So all the things that are on there, you've got game assets, your weapons, your costumes, things that you make, anything that you make in Fungible has a place on the blockchain, and you can put it up for sale, and it belongs to you, so no one can steal it from your inventory or hack your account and take over your character. It's all registered on the blockchain. So, and they're looking quite, they're doing things that are starting to look quite nice. So this blockchain, and it comes down to, I think, these start wrapping this up for you. The big things for me are legacy, authentication, provenance, immutability, and interoperability. But not everything is valuable. The Batman card from people's childhood is only valuable as an antique because not everybody kept it. Your children's toys and cards, there's a value to the first issue of the Superman magazine or the Comic 001, but all of the others aren't necessarily valuable. And I think it's something to really bear in mind that NFT is about the collective market. So good collector payments. And then one that that happened last year, we used Tim Berners-Lee sells the web source code for NFT. So what Tim Berners-Lee did last year was took a JPEG of the code that he first wrote to launch the internet. The person who spent $5.4 million for that JPEG does not own the internet. They do not own any copyright on the internet. They do not have any stake in the internet, intellectual property, in any way, shape, or form. All the NFT gives them is a JPEG that was created by Tim Berners-Lee from a screenshot of the first bit of code of the internet. And a few days later, there was even an article that had some code pointing out that even that actually had an error in it. So even the NFT that they bought wasn't really the original screenshot because they have an error in the code. So I hope that's giving you a sense of the words that you might need, what's possible, where it's going. I do have a Slido poll that I've got a QR code for. If you'd like to give me any feedback in terms of was there lots of things that were new, are there things that you want to know more of, and I think you're going to do some feedback as well. Where do you want this conversation to go next? And it's by knowing where you want the conversation to go next that creative daughter, big house, can then start reaching out to those people. They can ask me, the chances are if you want to know something specific about anything that I said in here, to say, I'm an internet explorer, I'm a theatre producer, I'm looking to make theatre that I can link on the blockchain so that my investors will think it's cool and I'll have something special that I want to no one else has. And people like that in the tech world. I'm wanting to produce art and theatre that examines the dangers of NFT. I want to look at fake news, I want to look at fake media, and I want audiences to be able to have that critical dialogue with what they're seeing on stage. So this sort of the technical mathematical side of it is not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in what comes next. And I think the big thing from going on from here is what do you need to know next? What questions do you want answering? And I think that's where I can refer people to who are doing these things. Or there might be a particular one of those examples that you like. Most of the people in those examples I've got connections to. I'm very keen to know who is on development teams for things, where is it going, what's the likelihood of it being around in 10 years' time. Legacy is important. So, have that conversation, and thank you so much. If anybody wants to find me on the internet, I'm PCM Creative everywhere. On Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, like PCM Creative if you Google and you'll find me. So thank you very much. I'm Caron, and I look forward to having a chat with you. Thank you so much, Caron.
I was due coming in, but I managed to keep my attention to the